Mark, welcome to the Business Spectator. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, is it fair to say that you've been, as the Australian manufacturing and in particular the car industry has been declining, that you've been looking to diversify your sales destinations over the last few years? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it started probably well before the decline in volume started. We devised a strategy in 2003 to diversify our revenue streams and our geographies.
Is that because you could see it coming?
Look, I wish our crystal ball was clearer than perhaps it was. At the time, you know, we could see that the emergence of China, India as low-cost producers with massive local markets were going to be superpowers. So, you know, we wanted a piece of that. We could see that that was going to take up a bit of what was the Australian volume as well and add some competition. So we were expecting it to decline, not to the degree that it has. We didn't see the dollar going to where it was. But you know, with where oil prices were going and the emergence of these low-cost countries, you know, it didn't take too much foresight to view that the industry in Australia was probably going to take a bit of a knock. And so we put in place a strategy.
It hasn't finished taking a knock, I guess you'd have to say.
Yeah, well, again, I'd like to think it has. I think it's sort of bouncing along the bottom at the moment. You know, volumes have been roughly stable, give or take a little bit, the last 3 years, and a few ups and a few downs. Hopefully, no more downs. But yeah, our strategy really was to diversify our revenue streams in Australia into some non-automotive activities, but also to take our automotive learnings and try and capture a bit of that growth market in China and
And how's that gone?
Very, very well. You know, we did an extensive search into which markets we wanted to tackle first. You know, there's numerous growth markets, the typical BRIC countries to begin with, but you have to focus your energy somewhere. So after doing a bit of a global study, we chose China as the starting point to start our first offshore entity, which we did extensive research in. We including myself and 3 of our guys, spent 6 months full time in China with the help of Austrade, studying the 130 different car companies in China, every one of their suppliers, their strategies, their ownership structures, our ability to pick up bits of business. And from that desktop and on the ground research, we narrowed the field down to about a dozen opportunities, which we prioritised and went after. And fortunately, our number one we were successful with after tap dancing there, which was starting up business with Chery Automobile. So we formed a joint venture in late 2005 with them and started formal production in early 2007. And you know, 5 years on, we've got quite a successful operation in Wuhu in Anhui, and moved on a couple of years later in 2009 to the number 2 on our list, which was JAC. And we kept up relationships with them, and fortunately won business when we were ready in 2009 and started a plant in Hefei. And then we went to number 3 on the list, and so on and so forth. So now we've got 4 factories in China, plus a design.
So you're very systematic about it.
Yeah. I guess it's the automotive approach, you know, that engineering type approach to things, and another 2 factories opening up next year. So
how much of your output is now sold in China?
By volume or by revenue? By dollars?
A bit of both. Let's see how it compares.
It doesn't compare. You know, the cost of the product that we make, predominantly seats for cars, a lot cheaper in the China market because the labour cost, material cost is substantially lower, but also the specification is generally lower than in the more mature Western markets. So it's usually about a quarter of the cost.
Quarter of the cost?
Quarter of the cost.
Wow.
In China for both of those reasons.
Not a lot of leather seats, I suppose.
No, not a lot of leather seats. Not a lot of power seats, and you know, with all the frills and bells and whistles. But by volume, we're knocking out about 150,000 car sets of seats in China now.
Out of a total output of what?
Total output in Australia, we do seats for GM and for Ford, which combined be about 130,000 cars.
So you're doing more in China than you are
more in China than here, yeah.
But a quarter of the dollars.
A quarter of the dollars, yeah.
So just back on Australia for a moment, are you worried about Ford?
Yes and no. I mean, you know, you only have to go back to 2006-07. They were producing about 110,000, 115,000 car sets or cars between Territory and Falcon. And roll the clock forward 5 or 6 years and you know, it's about 35,000 cars combined. So we've seen a massive deterioration in volume and that's been difficult for their own manufacturing and for all of the supply base. You know, they've got commitments that are public till the end of 2016 for the Falcon and the Territory and a publicly announced refresh program coming up in the middle of 2014.
What do you mean by commitments? Do you mean commitments to you or commitments to the government?
To manufacturing.
To manufacturing,
yeah, to manufacturing the current Territory and the current Falcon to the end of 2016. Beyond 2016 is where it becomes very unclear as to what the landscape looks like. There's a lot of speculation that they may not manufacture after 2016, so from 2017 onwards. You know, frankly, those decisions don't have to be made yet by them. You know, any new model usually takes a good 3 years in the planning and in producing. So 2017, if you come back 3 years, at the very start of 2014, that decision really would have to be solidified. So in the next 12 to 15 months, I would expect that decision will be firmed up as to what their plan is for end of 16 and beyond. One thing's for sure, it's not going to be a local, homegrown, niche, Australian-only vehicle anymore. Those days are gone. You know, global platforms is what everyone's doing around the world, just because of the economies of scale in design. I
suppose from your point of view, as long as they buy the seats here, that's okay?
Absolutely. You know, whether they make a derivative of something off a global platform, be it a Mondeo or a Taurus, a Ranger, it doesn't matter as long as they make the seats. And you know, we provide a lot of content beyond just the seats here.
Pretty much. You mean dashboards and other interiors?
If you're sitting in the inside of the car, pretty much everything except the instrument panel and centre console, we do. So carpets, headliners, parcel shelves, trunk trim, NVH, acoustic treatments.
But it's not just you, is it? I mean, a lot of Australian manufacturing relies on the car industry in Australia.
Absolutely. I mean, not that I've personally gone around and counted, but you know, all of the industry data says that there's, you know, approximately 55,000 people directly employed in the automotive industry, and you know, about 65% of those are in the supply community, not in the car companies themselves. But the knock-on effect beyond that, you know, where we're using the service sectors that don't just do work for auto, but do work for other organisations, is huge. There's a big multiplier out there as to that flow-on effect. So there's no doubt. I think the latest numbers I've seen, about 1 million people employed in manufacturing across Australia, which compared to mining is about 10 to 1.
One of the things you've done is invest in a small business called EV Engineering, which is electric vehicle testing for a Commodore, where they've been proof of concept of an electric Commodore, and you're one of the backers of that process with Better Place and a few others. Is that because you're taking out a bit of insurance, or do you really think that automotive is moving electric?
It's not really insurance. I think as a responsible citizen in the automotive industry here, you have to be looking at, you know, what's around the corner, investing in next generation powertrains. I'm not sure where it's going to lead, but you know, we want to be a part of that, just in case it does lead to some new business opportunities. Do I think electric vehicles are going to take up a fair share of the future? Absolutely, I do. You know, I think as battery technology is constantly improving, you only have to look at your laptop from 10 years ago to today, or your mobile phone, and the size and scale and the longevity you get out of batteries, and the same is going to continue to apply to vehicles as well. In fact, I just drove the e-vehicle this morning. I was taking it for a spin around. It's a sensational car to
I've
drive.
driven it too.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a strange feeling, that silent drive, but and to that end, we've backed electric vehicles by going after business with Tesla in the US, and we've picked up the seating contract for their new Model S Tesla. So,
congratulations, that's great.
Thank you. Yeah, we went into production with that in June this year, and hoping to see some nice increase in volumes in the coming 12 months or so as they ramp up.
And you're pitching for other electric vehicle seats?
Yes, we are. You know, we want to continue our relationship with Tesla into their next model, which is going to be an SUV. And we've also won the seating for the next model Fisker vehicle, which is codenamed Atlantic. Hopefully when they get their act together a little bit further, that vehicle will really ramp up the design and development. So
now your parent company, Elders, has put you up for sale. Is that a disruptive process? I mean, and do you have any role in determining how that plays out and where you end up?
Yes and yes, the answers to that. You know, any sale process, you know, we're going through the preparation phases now, and I think it'll really commence in earnest at the back end of this year, early next year. You know, going through the vendor due diligence process and putting together an information memorandum. It's a fair amount of work on select areas of the management team, but you know, we're trying to set up the business so that we isolate that from the mainstream running of the business. Will we have a say in who it gets sold to? Absolutely. We're intimately part of the process. Elders has been the owner of our business, Futuris Automotive, since the early 90s. So they haven't been an in and an out of this business. You know, they've been the grower of, been good enough to let us really start our strategy of globalising the business. But at the end of the day, their strategy is to become a pure play agricultural business. You know, we're really the last of the non-agricultural bits of the conglomerate. You know, it was a mutual decision that it was the right time as our business continues to globalise. We need an owner going forward that you know is going to come on that journey with us and invest in some pretty interesting and new markets such as China and India and Thailand and the like. So,
any chance of the management participating in the acquisition?
Look, I think you know, to do business with GM, Ford globally, and you know, we're now considered a small global player with operations in 5 countries, including Australia. You have to have a balance sheet that's solid and healthy. So to that end, you know, we're seeking an owner that can deliver that and help us really accelerate the growth of the business. So someone that's probably a trade player can really be a complementor with our business and use the intellectual property, the 250 engineering people that we have just around the corner in Port Melbourne, and you know, use that and exploit that in some of these emerging markets is what we're looking for. You know, I think from a management perspective, first and foremost, that's what we're looking for, is to protect what we've built over the last 20 years in that intellectual horsepower. Look to really find that owner that can help accelerate our strategy to be a real Asian regional powerhouse.
It's been great talking to you, Mark. Thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome.